Okay, hey there. Hey there. Hey there. Hey friend, welcome to another video tutorial on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to paint 3 different types of potted cacti. Cactus? Cacti. Cacti. And this is a loose style watercolor, but I do have a couple sketches down just for reference, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for this tutorial, we're going to be painting 3 different types of cacti. So I've grown up saying saguaro cactus, but supposedly that's wrong. Saguaro cactus, saguaro cactus, whatever. We're just going to leave it there. A prickly pear cactus, and I'm not really sure what the name of this third one is, but it's one of those slate blue green type cactus that has short stout spikies.
Short and stout spikies.
Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 3. If you want to pull up reference photos, I'm sorry about the third one. I don't know what the name is. Maybe we can find out before we post this video on YouTube and we can have a link to a photo or something. Hey, John. But we're also painting some pots. And the main thing that I have pre-sketched are the pots because I want some cool little Aztec-y designs on them. And so I've sketched those out. I have them super, super lightly sketched on my watercolor paper because we're gonna paint lighter greens and I don't want the pencil marks to show through the watercolor. And so I'm gonna take this lovely scrap piece of paper and show you how I sketched it on my watercolor paper. But if you're sketching before your watercolor and you don't want your pencil to show through, just make sure you're sketching incredibly lightly so that it's just there for reference, but it's not going to be showing through the watercolor. All right, so to start, to sketch a pot, we're just gonna start with 2 circles or ovals. And if you don't like how your circle or oval is coming out, just doing it repeatedly over and over like this will show you the clear, perfect oval. And then we're gonna have an oval that falls directly underneath it, but it's going to be less wide. Same width, but less wide. And get it as centered as you can. Then you can just bring it straight down like this, grab the ends of both ovals with these straight lines. You can add some sort of little hood design here, little lip. Again, I would normally be doing this super light, but it doesn't show up on camera. So there's your little lip. And then if you wanted to, you could, let's darken those. You can add, then we'd erase that back line of the oval because that is the inside of the pot. We could add some sort of design with diamonds, let's say. Let's do a diamond in the middle here. And all the way across. It doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like the hand-painted feel of pots anyway. And then you can do interior diamonds for a different color. And then finish up the rest of your diamonds. And then for your actual cacti that we're gonna be painting today, we have a prickly pear cactus, which is simply loops. So we'd start with our big loop at the bottom. So big C curve. And then obviously this would be behind the cactus. And then we're just adding these C curves with skinny necks. Like so. And then after putting down our first layer of watercolor, we would add in the spikies. Technical terms. There you have your prickly pear. And then For our saguaro cactus, we're gonna start with a long C curve. Let's start at the top actually. Long C curve. And then our pot would be here-ish. And then we have these arms. You don't need to sketch out the cactus beforehand if you feel comfortable just kind of doing these loose. But you do want to try and make sure that all of the saguaro cactus arms are the same distance in width all the way up and down the arm. Because if they start to taper off, it looks like a teardrop. And then our third and final cactus is this slate blue one that I'm referencing that we don't know the name of. And we're just going to start with these C curves. And they have these ridges on them. Then this would go behind. Ridges, ridges, ridges. And then our pot would be here. Voila. So sketch out your pots, your design on your pots, and then the cactus beforehand, and then now it's time to start painting. Okay, so the first cactus I'm gonna do is the no-name cactus that we don't, it's the mystery cactus. The reason for that is it's at the top left-hand corner on my paper, and I'm right-handed, and so I don't want to smear. If I start in the bottom right or the middle or whatever, then go to the top left, then I will smear, and I don't want to do that, smear paint. So I will be mostly working with my size 6 today, and then for the little details and patterns on the actual pots, I'll be using my size 2 brush. All the links to every single supply that I use are below in the description, so make sure to check them out if you want to know exactly what I'm using. And now we're gonna mix up our cactus colors. So I wanna start with the slate blue one, like I said. This is a bluish green mixture. I already have this like weird leftover purpley color with some cobalt blue in it that I'm just going to grab and mix all together with some green that was underneath it. And that's gonna be my base. It has like a gray undertone, this cactus. A little purple in there is fine. And I'm gonna add more blue. So I'm gonna grab some cobalt blue, mix that in. If you're mixing this from scratch, I would try some Prussian blue, cobalt blue, and a touch of sap green mixed with black and burnt umber. And so I'm gonna grab a little bit of burnt umber for this one. There wasn't any in it. That's nice. We need a touch of green, touch more blue too. Phthalo turquoise is a nice one too to add. All right, so we've got our nice slate turquoisey blue color for this mystery cactus. And my first layer is always going to be my lightest layer because we're going to be working in a lot of wet and dry today. So I want to make sure that my layers of each part of the cactus to stay really crystal clear and crisp. And so if I'm painting wet and wet, the ridges on the cactus or the prickly parts on the cactus are just going to blur and blend in with the base layer, which is the lighter. So in watercolor, if you want to add detail and get more realistic, a more realistic look to your painting, you want to start light and work dark. So you always start light, wait for your layer to dry. If you're adding layers and details, then add your midtones, wait for that to dry, then add your details, and you should be done. So I'm going to start with a base layer. I'm going to grab this color in the mixing well, and I'm just going to lighten it slightly. So I'm going to go to my water cup and release some of that pigment so it lightens it, and then make sure to swipe the excess water off on my edge of my jar, and then I'm ready to paint my base layer for my first cactus. So I am basically just following my sketch, and I'm gonna lighten that, grab more water, and spread this across my cactus area, avoiding where the pot would overlap the cactus. Working very light with this base layer so that I can layer on top of it for the pricklies and the ridges of the cactus. And there are 3 separate arms to this particular cactus, so I'm not worrying about dimension or overlapping, showing any overlaps just yet, because my midtones I'm gonna add shadows in my midtones that show that this little arm here is in front of this one and this one is in front of that one. So that's gonna happen in the next layer once this dries. But I am gonna go in with Wet n Wet and just darken some bits to give it a nice way of creating a smooth blend. So maybe going in here. And then this would be a darker area where the pot meets the cactus. And so for now, this cactus is done until the next layer. So we need to wait for that to dry. So I'm gonna move on to my next cactus. And it is the saguaro. Wow, I really can't say that. I'm going to grab my lemon yellow deep that is covered in some green because I use it a lot. But I'm basically just mixing up lemon yellow deep and sap green. Also use this color a lot. This is sap green. This is very like lemon yellow green color for this cactus. All right. Now we're ready to go to our saguaro. This is already too dark, so I'm gonna lighten it by getting rid of all the pigment that's on my brush and my water cup, swishing it off, and basically just going with just water on my brush and dragging this color down. And because that initial green area was really wet, I can do that. But if it's dry, you won't be able to spread it like this. And I love when 2 arms in a cactus meet and this wet and wet moment happens. I don't like how dark green this kind of took over, so I'm gonna dry my brush off completely and soak up some of that and remove it. So I kept this dark green line here because I want to show that it is a rounded surface and not a flat surface. And so whatever you're painting, there is going to be shadows on one side or on both sides, depending on where the sun is hitting it and what time of day and all of that. But we're going to show that as the right side, being further away from the sun. Let's do a couple more arms back here. And there's that one. Need to wait for that to dry and we'll add the ridges and some detail on that. So now we're ready to go to our prickly pear cactus. I'm gonna add a little bit of turquoise to my green mixture in a separate dish. I want to keep all of my base layer mixtures not contaminated so that I can add to it and darken it for the details later on. But for my prickly pear cactus, I'm going to use phthalo turquoise and sap green mixed together. And maybe a touch of brown burnt umber. All right. This flower also has a little peachy pink bloom on it, and I love when pink and peach or whatever blend in with the green. So I'm going to work wet and wet with that. But basically, I'm just laying my lighter base layer in. This is really dark, so I'm going to get rid of all that pigment from my brush and just grab water and blend that to the rest of that part of the cactus. And grab more pigment so that it does this little burst of color. That's what I love about loose watercolor. Just being okay with those moments happening, because it creates a really fun visual aspect to your piece. I'm gonna maybe grab some lemon yellow deep and just hit on some areas to bring in some more color. So laying down the dark color and then grabbing just water and pulling it so it blends is kind of a great way, an easier way to create shadows and midtones. So it does some soft gradient for you. So starting on the same side for all of these cactus parts, grabbing just water and pulling it. Then I'm going to grab some Opera Rose and Lemon Yellow Deep, and while this cactus is still wet, I'm going to give it these little tufts with the tip of my size 6 brush. And there you have it. So now, feeling around, I am going to move on to my pots next, the base layer for my pots. I want these pots to have a lot of the Adobe Aztec vibe, and so we're going to do some clay tones for these, which my base is going to be Opera Rose. Pink, what? Yes. Trust me. Opera Rose. Yellow Ochre. Already got some clay vibes. Clay color vibes. Now some burnt umber. And I want it to be a little smoky, so I'm gonna grab some Mars Black. And there we go. There's some clay tone pot color. So again, just like the cactus, I want it to be a light base layer first. This little interior of the pot is going to be dark because I want it to show shadow. So I'm just going to be doing the front side of the pot first. And then same thing, we're going to start dark on one side that we want to show that it's shadowed. Release that pigment in our water cup and then pull with just water through the rest of that pot. These colors together are amazing. Do you want to know why, John?
Yeah, I do.
So blue and orange are contrasting colors. And this has orange undertone, this has blue undertone. And so it's not an obnoxious contrast, but it's just enough to make you go, ooh, those are nice colors.
Ooh, those are nice colors.
So now I'm going back with that clay mixture and darkening this the sides again. And I'm gonna darken the base of the pot. And if you don't like how something's blending, you can get rid of all of that pigment off your brush, completely dry it off, and soak it up, or do these brushing teeth motions to help it blend more softly. Okay, so there's our base layer for that cactus, cactus, pot, whatever. Let's move on to the next one. This next one is more yellow-green, so I'm gonna add a little bit more pink to the clay mixture for the pot because pink or red and green are contrasting colors. So there is a method to the madness. All right, so for this design, it has some diamonds on it. I want the outline of the diamond to stay like the white of the paper, maybe with a little touch of gray. And then the inside diamond to be a turquoise color. And yeah, that's it. Actually, I might do this pot color for the outline of the diamond. And then this will be the color on the top ridge here of the pot. The inside of the diamond will be turquoise. So I'm just using the tip of my size 6 brush. If you feel more comfortable with a smaller brush, then use a size 2 so you can work around these tight corners. But don't stress too much about getting it super precise. If you obsess over details in a loose painting, you end up usually overdoing it. Then this top ridge will be that color. So then we're gonna do a little turquoise in the middle of those diamonds, and I'm gonna make a softer white, more like a clay white for the outside of the diamonds to show shadow on the edges of the pot where it's gonna be that clay soft white color. But first I need to wait for the pinkish clay color to dry. So I'm gonna move on to my third and final cactus pot. I'm going to go back to this more orangey clay color, but also make it a little bit darker and paint my base layer. This little ridge or lip here should cast a shadow on the bottom part of the pot. And so I am going to go back to my mixture, grab a lot of it, and create that shadow. And then this darker color, I'm actually going to use back on my first cacti for the inside of the pot that's showing. So for this part, I'm going to use my size 2 brush so I can get smaller. And I'm going to go up to the edge of the cactus. There's that. And then let's do that same color on all 3 of the cacti with a touch of black. All right, now it's time to add some cutie designs. I'm gonna mix up a darker tone of this clay color. So it's kind of like a 2-toned pot. And just boop, boop. Still a little wet. If it's cold to the touch, if it looks dry but it's cold to the touch, it is not dry. It is wet. So we're gonna move on to the turquoise for these diamonds. I'm gonna grab some phthalo turquoise, mix it up with some lemon yellow deep, and fill in these diamonds. And then I'm just going to create a soft white for those white triangles using some yellow ochre, touch of lemon yellow deep, and a touch of black, and a lot of water. So it's like this yellow, brown, gray color, but super, super light. Just to soften that harsh white. Okay, now more detail on the pots. And just add a line here, following the curve of the base of the pot. Maybe some triangles. Nothing too overly complicated or precise. Boom. Cute little design. And then same thing on this other pot, but I'm going to darken it. Darken the mixture I have because it's a darker pot, the base layer. Now it's time to add all the details to our pretty cacti. So I'm basically just adding ridges to each cactus and then adding the spikies. So I'm going to go back to my first cactus and grab this mixture that I made for the slate blue. I'm going to grab my size 6 brush so I can mix faster. And I'm just going to slightly darken this mixture by adding some more phthalo turquoise, cobalt blue, brown, and my black. Okay, so we have our darker mixture, and this little arm right here is in the middle of these two. This would be the front area here, so I'm going to pull that out by outlining the edge of that cactus, and then outlining the edge of the middle cactus and darkening. I'm just basically pulling out lines for ridges on this cactus. And then I'm going to go back in and give it these little pokies. Okay, now the same thing for the saguaro cactus. So I'm just going in and adding those ridges and then also the spikies. Okay, and then our third and final cactus. So a darker layer of that blue-green mixture. This cactus doesn't really have ridges, so I'm just gonna go in and start painting the spikies. And then last thing I want to do is add more spikies to this cactus that got darker because it's the one in shadow. Alrighty, so there you have it. 3 different types of cacti, all painted in watercolor with cute pot designs. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We have many more coming for you. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite type of cactus was to paint if you painted one of these three. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.